Okay, so I'm doing a boring operation of putting down liquid nitrogen, 32%. I am putting down approximately 45 gallons. For some reason that thing just slipped to 43. There it goes. 45 gallons. Whether it sucked some air or something, I don't know. I'm running foam markers, obviously. I've got everything on my sprayer working 100% properly. I'm really impressed with the work that me and Tim did this year to get it going. This sprayer was a little bit more cantankerous to work with than the other one, and there is a reason for that. When you're doing what I'm doing with these things, this is really harsh stuff. 32% nitrogen, or any nitrogen for that matter, is really hard on the equipment. It's corrosive as hell. You can't get it all cleaned out in the fall. You can pressure wash these things until you're blue in the face. That stuff just finds nooks, crannies, crevices. And in my personal experience, if you want your sprayer to not rot as fast as it would, if you want, you can clean it off all you want, but when you're running nitrogen like this, I just leave these sprayers outside so that the water can continually rinse them off. I don't have shed space anyway, and the resale market on a sprayer that's never seen nitrogen like this is cheap enough that you just turn these things into parts machines. So you go out and you spend 10 grand on a sprayer that's in really, really good shape, meaning the tires are good. The majority of the machine is there. Like I did last year, I paid, I think, $8,500 for that thing. Brought it back from Ohio, enjoyed it. It's working just fine. It's on the other tractor. It just doesn't pay to go out and buy a new one of these things to do what we're doing. Now, I've had this sprayer here since 2012. I've had this thing for 10 years. I think it's 10 years. Yeah, yes, 10 years. This will be its 10th season, let's put it that way. Now, I paid $10,000 for this thing. That's $1,000 a year. I've put more into bits and pieces of it than I have. Yeah, I know. I'm running the center boom. I'm running the centers, the two centers, because I don't need to have it really wide. And if you're looking back there, you can see the stream bars. I'm running stream bars because it's nitrogen for corn. And when you do that, it doesn't vaporize it. It goes right to the ground. All with the stream bars for corn, it's perfect. It'll leach out just fine. For hay, not so much, but this is not going to be hay. So, okay. So now I've got to fold it up. Let me shut that off. One of them things running it. Okay. I just got to make sure I bypassed the diverter valve in it so that I don't have to worry about more electronics that were broken, and it was going to cost me $500, $600, $700 to repair. So there's a problem with this boom here. You see that outer boom there? It kind of wants to do stupid stuff, like not get hooked on the gizmo. So what I'm doing is you tilt that thing, and then you bring it back out. As long as you do that, you're good. Now, I'm just gonna go back over here. I can get across. I need to get to that field there. No big deal to do it. I just need to jump the ditch here. And these sprayers are pretty high, so we don't worry about that. This was the old driveway. There was two houses here. If you look back at my old videos, there was a house with a garage right there, and then the old farmhouse was there to the left. And then the township owns this now, and instead of preserving the houses, they just opted to tear them down. you know, just tear them down, which is fine, you know. I mean, it kind of upset me because I knew the guy that lived here. And when you know somebody that lives in a house and you know that it wouldn't have been, he wouldn't have appreciated his house being torn down. It was his family house. And there we go, right into the bushes, right? Yeah, hopefully that thing breaks away. If not, oh, there goes a coyote chasing a deer. So that doe is having a fawn, and that coyote is going to get that fawn. The coyotes are doing their job. Excellent. I'm happy about that, believe it or not. So, yeah, some people may say that I'm a heartless bastard, but I'm not. That's Mother Nature at its finest, baby. And I can't wait to call my dad and tell him what I just saw, because that is, I hope you guys saw that. But that old doe, she's being stalked by the coyotes, so that the fawn population is going to be down by a lot. Because I'm putting corn in here, but over across the way I'm going to have 40 acres of soybeans and popcorn. 40 acres of soybeans and popcorn. I will be offering popcorn to my subscribers for sale. Yes, for sale. It's called business. And I'm going to have an Amazon store my wife is setting up. And that will that'll pretty much make me pretty happy, you know, because I'll be able to provide something that I actually have grown for my subscribers. And they can watch, excuse me, they can watch Cole the Corn Star, Welker Farms, Millennial Farmer, my channel, Larson Farms, Bandit Farmer, WT Farm Girl, and any of these other farming channels like Meredith, This Farm Wife, Tara Beaver from Beaver Vineyards, or Tara Coronado, as she calls herself now. I like the Beaver Vineyards myself. That was her last name. So I had asked her a question like, why Beaver? Because beaver is another word for, you know, your woohoo. But anyways, if you like watching all those channels, you'll be able to buy my popcorn, sit down and watch all your favorite farming channels while eating a piece of OLF. Isn't that funny? Anyway, alright, I'll talk to y'all later. You know, there's one thing about guidance. When you're used to running guidance, like auto steer, and then you go back to the old phone, it's a pain in the neck. As you're used to just letting go. I don't know what farmers are going to do if something happens to the guidance system in the United States. And they actually have to go back to primitive methods like foam, or that little arrow at the end of your hood that they still put on the new tractor. They're not there for just decoration. They're actually there for a purpose, if you didn't know. If you're a non-farmer, all tractors, including the Kubotas, right at the end there is a silver arrow. And they've put them on tractors for a lot of years. Even the radiator caps on old Fordson tractors, they were an arrow. What are you doing? Are you singing? They were arrows, and John Deere's, I don't know, I don't think John Deere started putting them on until later. Other manufacturers, Massey Ferguson's and stuff, they had different variations. So what you do, if you're not used to the guidance, or you don't have foam, you find yourself a tree or a fence post or something out in the distance, and then in a cab tractor you can put a piece of tape on your windshield, and you can actually put that piece of tape out there where your old road tracks went, and that'll keep you pretty straight. So once you find a tree and get a straight line established, you can just put a piece of tape on your window or a mark on your tire where you're sitting in, and just kind of triangulate it so that it is where you want it to be, so you can maintain a straight line. Now, it's not going to be straight. It's not going to be straight. It's not going to be guidance. It's going to be a rough estimate. And the better you get at it, the straighter your lines are. Especially if you're running like 90-foot booms like I'm running right now. 90-foot booms without foam would be extraordinarily difficult. 60-footers I could do. 90-footers, man, I don't know. It's kind of a tough deal. So I'll just kind of give you an idea as to how far out that is. I mean, even just putting that foam on top of foam, there's going to be a little bit of an overlap out there. So, yeah, going to be an overlap. I'd rather have a slight overlap than a missed spot, especially in corn and hay. This is going to be corn. Yes, I'm just putting nitrogen. There's no weed killer. Those are stream bars out there. So if you're imagining lines out through the, from the boom, they're not imagination. Those are actually stream nozzles. There's 5 streams coming out of each nozzle. And with that, it puts that nitrogen right to the ground. And instead of hanging up on the grass, I want the nitrogen to hit the ground. There's a reason for that, because it's nice and bright and sunny out, and there's some humidity in the air. It's actually dried out a lot since, it's dried out an awful lot since earlier today, like the fog lifted, but this stuff becomes volatile, and it'll go off into the atmosphere because it was taken from the atmosphere. When it's taken from the atmosphere, it can go back into the atmosphere. We breathe this stuff, like 72% of the air that we breathe is what I'm putting back onto the fields. And down the road of my regenerative ag process here, I will be at a point, not now, but at a point soon enough where I won't have to put nitrogen down. I'll be getting my nitrogen through the soil health and the different legumes and the rhizosphere. When the rhizosphere builds, it will actually make grasses produce nitrogen as well. This little boy is singing and driving me nuts. What are you doing? I'm gonna make you into a little Indian boy. You hear him over there? It's really hard. He's breaking my concentration. Yeah, so as you build up the soil nutrition, or the bugs in the beneficial bugs that are in the soil, you build them up, they'll actually sequester the right types of funguses and different microbes in the soil that will actually produce nitrogen from make grasses, different grasses, brassicas, mustard and things like that, produce nitrogen to feed itself. And when you do that, it comes to the point where you don't need commercial fertilizer. Now, I talked to John Stevens on the phone the other day. I called him up, and if you don't know who he is, he has a YouTube channel. It's Maple Grove Farms. He makes really good videos. He talks about mechanical stuff and regenerative ag and beef and how the soil can pay you back dividends just by changing your practices. And he's in Minnesota as well. He does a really good job. I like his videos a lot. But anyways, I talked to him and I asked him about the nitrogen, the amount of nitrogen you put on in the first year of this regen ag thing. And he advised me to just use the regular nitrogen rate. He said you can cut back the other elements down to half or a quarter or whatever if you've got, if you've had a living root in the ground and there's biomass there. So I'm killing hay or putting this into hay, and I have put down mushroom soil, which is loaded with all the good stuff that I need. And all I need to do is keep this biomass where it is. I'm losing my concentration here. Keep this biomass where it is so that it can break down over the summer and actually feed back all the nutrients that it has taken out of the soil, it'll feed that back to the corn that I'm planting. And I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100%, 99.999, almost 100% sure that this corn will not be starved for any phosphate or potassium, because this hay crop would be 2.5 tons when I kill it, and 2 tons of hay rotting back onto the ground is 80 units of potash, which is enough to grow a crop of corn. And I have an abundance of phosphate in the soil, so I'm not interested in putting down phosphate either. Zinc and everything else, iron, all that stuff is in the soil, plus it's in my secret sauce, so it will just be a win-win situation for this crop of corn. If it's a failure, I'll show you. I definitely will show you. So let me shut this off as I get through this asshole mud hole. This is how much rain we've had. If you can't see the mud hole that I'm producing right there, we have had so much rain in the last couple of 3-4 days. We've had inches of rain, which is preventing me from getting into the field, which sucks because I really need to have corn planted. I suspect I'll be planting this in 3 or 4 days. That's why I'm putting on this nitrogen now. I want it to, a little bit of it to be taken up by the roots in the plant, because as it decays, the bacteria will release that nitrogen back in later on in the year. But there's plenty of nitrogen here from the, I'll get nitrogen credits from the compost that I put on, and obviously what I've put in here. So I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing. I am putting down 160 units of nitrogen, that is all. I believe I will get somewhere between 20 and 40 units of nitrogen from the biomass that I put down and what is here. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. If it gets into the midsummer and the corn looks like it's running out of nitrogen, well, then I guess I fucked up. And that's it. And you'll get to see that. So sit back and enjoy the ride, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a fun one.